Good morning. Today we will be using Zoom webinar for this service. This means that you can see me, your lay leader, and our presenters, but we will not be able to see you, and you will not be able to see each other. You will have an opportunity to see and talk with each other at the coffee hour after the worship service, and we will be using Zoom meeting for our coffee hour. The information about joining the coffee hour will be posted in the chat box and at the conclusion of this worship service. It is also printed in the order of service. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we live today on the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish people. They have lived in the Salish Sea Basin from time immemorial. Please join me in expressing our deepest respect and gratitude for our Indigenous neighbors, the Suquamish tribe and the Port Gamble Sklallam. Join me in expressing our deepest respect for their enduring care and protection for our shared lands and waterways. Our musical call to worship is For the Earth Forever Turning. It is sung by Alina Hemingway and Mike Minifee and will be played by Brian Kinney.
Skies
Good morning. Welcome to the Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whoever you are and wherever you have come from, or whatever your comfort with modern technology, for this hour, we here are one gathered congregation and all are welcome. My name is Nancy Slate, and I've been a member of the lay leader team for a while now and have had the honor of being in the pulpit and greeting people as you all sat in the sanctuary. This is new to me, sitting in my home and greeting you all as you sit in your homes. I hope you're comfortable, and to use the words that we've heard before, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Our worship presenters this morning are members of our congregation, Marty Bishop and Kathleen Stewart. I'd like to welcome any visitors. Please take the time to introduce yourself in the Zoom chat. We welcome more interaction with all during our service coffee hour. The announcements are on our webpage at www.kuf.org or our weekly email newsletter, The Candle. Now Kathleen Stewart will light her chalice and read our chalice lighting words.
Please join me in lighting your chalice or your candle. Committed to Respond by Lynn Harrison. Committed to respond to the call of a wounded world, we join together this day with loving hearts, hands, minds, embracing the interconnected web of water, air, and earth. We light a fire of sustaining hope, ever bright with love and justice. May we bring forth this day new wisdom, strength, and courage to create a new world, not of wealth, but of well-being, a world of new peace and abundance for all. As we give thanks for this earth, our shared and singular home, may we dedicate ourselves to its ongoing care. Rising to the calls deep within us and all around us, may we respond today and always with courage and with love. Please join in singing our opening hymn, I Dreamed of Rain, sung by Alina Hemingway and Mike Menifee. Words will appear on your screen.
I dreamed of rain and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, and the green was easy and the river ran clear. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers bloom in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and the way was easy and the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. And the guardian stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. of rain, and the rains came. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came.
Please join me now in the spoken affirmation. The words will appear on your screen. We gather as a caring community, seeking life's deeper meanings. We value diversity and affirm the worth of all living things. We strive to speak truth in love, to act for justice, to grow in spirit, and to care for the earth. We celebrate with open hearts and minds the creative power that sustains and transforms us. And now it is time for our morning offering. Please click on the paypal.me link in the chat box. Please then email admin@kuuf.org to let us know if your donation is for the KUUF General Fund, the Minister's Discretionary Fund to help our members in need, or our monthly charitable giving recipient, the Lord's Neighborhood Diner. You may also send a check to the address on the screen. If this is your first time at KUUF, please let the basket pass by not contributing, as you are our guest. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen our community, which is sacred to so many of us. And now we'll listen to Brian Kenny play the offertory, La Fille aux Chevaux de Lin by Debussy.
Good morning from Port Orchard. Today's story for all ages is Sustaining the Tree of Life by Lynn Gardner. There are lots of versions of this story. I think you'll recognize it. And I have a volunteer, Nathaniel. who's going to help me tell this story. And sustaining the tree of life. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so large that it took 6 people holding hands to reach around it. The roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread out over the village square, offering shelter from the rain or shade from the summer sun. Its fruit was juicy, sweet, and plentiful. Oh, fruit. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it and climbed its lowest branches. Young people knew that if you whispered your dreams to the tree, they were more likely to come true. People who proclaimed their love in front of the tree found that their relationships were more nourishing and sweet, and elders discovered that their dearest memories could be counted on when they were near the great tree. The tree had been witness to so much, and when the breezes blew through the leaves, one could hear echoes of generations, laughter, conversations, dreams, prayers, and songs. Animals loved the tree. The rabbits lived in burrows near its roots. Squirrels and monkeys lived in the branches, and bats and birds flew in to eat the abundant fruit. The trees seemed to buzz with life. One day, a traveler arrived in the village, and he rested in the shade and ate pieces of the delicious fruit. "This fruit is incredible," he said. "I'd like to have some. I'd like to sell some in the next village. Who owns this tree?" "No one owns this tree," replied a villager. "If anything, we belong to it." "Well then, if no one owns this tree, no one will mind if I pick the fruit," said the merchant. And he began to fill his basket with fruit. "Wait a minute, I mind," said the villager, "and today I'm the keeper of the tree." "What do you mean, keeper of the tree?" We each take turns being here with the tree, and we could never own it. We're more like protectors, sustainers." "That's ridiculous. This tree doesn't need you. You could just take what you need, take what you want. The tree will continue." But the villager couldn't be persuaded. "Sir, this tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, even though we receive much. We're keepers of the tree. This is where we're nourished. This is where some of our most precious memories are, where our people have dreamed. This is where we remember who we want to become." "Well," said the traveler, "you may think this is very special, but it doesn't need you to sit with it. You're preposterous." "Ah," replied the villager, "the tree itself may not need me, but what of others who come by? Just this morning, for instance, I sat with a woman whose heart was heavy with worry. Had I not been here, she would have had to carry that weight all alone. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by and they rested with me. They said they'd been looking for a place just like this. And then an elder came by and we watched the birds and the branches together. And now you're here. You were confused about what this tree is and how to be with it. Imagine if you had arrived and not found anyone here to talk with. You might have continued thinking that everything you do is all about you. Luckily for you, my friend, I'm here to let you know that when you care for the tree of life, it becomes about so much more than just you." The traveler sat for a while in the shade, thinking about these words and these ideas. The sun went down. He picked up his bag and headed out of town, whistling a song he hadn't thought of in years. And on his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, his heart feeling light and joyful. And the people of the village, they continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another, and to share their gifts with grace, with gratitude. And may it be so for each of us. And now, thank you, Mr. Volunteer, Nathaniel, and thank you for your art. Please join us in singing "This Little Light of Mine" with a joyful video pre-recorded by Reverend Jessica and her family.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Even when I'm home, even when I'm home, I'm gonna let it shine. Even when I'm home, I can dream about it, I'm gonna let it shine. Even when I'm home, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. When I think of you, when I think of you, I'm gonna let it shine. When I think of you, I'm gonna let it shine. When I think of you, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Now is the time in our service when we share our joys and our sorrows. If you have a joy or a sorrow, please put it in the chat box and make sure it's addressed to all panelists. I will then read them so that we all may hear. From Beth Wilson to everyone, joy that we are all together. From Jessica Demick to everyone, and this is from Maya, joy to visit a friend outside 6 feet away to wish her a happy birthday. From Marty Bishop to Robin and Peter Kreidler, perhaps it's from Robin and Peter through Marty, love to you. Nathaniel has a joy that he was able to share the children's story with everyone and with Grandma Kathy. Marcia Kristen says we're celebrating that Emma and her fiance are moving to Silverdale so we can support them. And Glenn and I celebrated 37 years of marriage. Ed Luby has a joy. He found a friend from his youth that he's been searching for the past 20 years. He says it was great to catch up with her. From Karen Leader Scott, I've lost it. They're coming in fast and furious. My sorrow is that my dear friend Tom Barabbas died this past week. He was a gifted musician who will be missed. From Jessica Demick, actually from Amelia, joy that our puppy is 5 months old. From Kathy, I have a joy for the class I attended on Wednesday with Jessica. From Joey, my sorrow is that my dad is not doing well health-wise, and that the doctors have used the phrase end of life, and that he has been told he has only a few years left at most. From Guy Frindell, joy for the online concert given by my daughter yesterday for family members. From Rosemary Dougal, joy that I have a new great nephew, Charles, born on Wednesday. From Terry Mallory, sending love and healing thoughts to our dear Peter Kreidler. And from Ellen Newberg, the Weed Warriors were able to fulfill their auction donation to Deborah Welsh yesterday. And from Bonner, So grateful for a functional unemployment benefits department with the state of Washington. May the love and light of our beloved community be magnified as we share each joy. May we join together in love and kindness to share our burdens and bring light to the moments of darkness for each of our shared sorrows. Please join now in singing Spirit of Life. The words will appear on your screen.
As Surely as We Belong to the Universe by Margaret Kelp. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, to reconnect, to know ourselves, to be at home here on earth, under the stars, linked together. Please join us in silent reflection, followed by music played by Brian Kinney. This poem is by Barbara Rhodey in a time of peril. Of course, truth is hard. It is a rock. Yet I do not think they can hammer it to bits and stone me. Help me place the rock in the strong current of these rushing waters. I must climb upon it. I must know how truth feels when I plunge naked into the bright depth of these waters. I must know how truth feels when I'm swept by the cold fury of these waters. I must know with my whole being how truth feels. I shall remember how truth feels. I praise the rock. I praise the river. I fear the drought more than death by water. Please let me introduce our own dear Marty Bishop, who will share her thoughts and a reading that she selected for Earth Day.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here in Manchester, and I'm glad we could be together in this way. Our community is like the tree in Kathleen's story. Our worship is a time when we remember who we want to be, just like the people under that tree. I am privileged to be able to share on this Earth Day Sunday. I would like you to get a pen and some paper. The back of an envelope will do. We're going to make 2 lists. I participated in an online Earth Week that Olympic College held last week. Originally, of course, we were planning a march from the Manette Bridge to the OC campus, where we would have a panel of students in the auditorium discussing climate issues. We were also planning to make signs and participate in some nonviolent direct actions as a part of a global movement to advance climate action. This writing activity was used by one of our speakers during our online Earth Week, and I found it helpful. So we're going to take a little time. Please write down all the things you can think of that you love. Make a list. And now write down all the things you fear. We'll be using these lists later. Dr. Arlene Plevin led this exercise before she began her talk about seeing this time of coronavirus as a portal. What is a portal? I've seen this term used several times lately. It's just a gate or a large door. I think they use this word because in science fiction there are time portals. And once you are through them, everything is changed. I get the feeling that I'm in a science fiction novel. I wish all this were not real. But people are suffering. Many have lost loved ones who they were unable to be with as they were dying. Many people have lost their jobs. Many are homeless. And the dread of runaway deaths in third world countries is very real. Then there is grief for our environment, the loss of species and habitats, the destruction brought by the fossil fuel industry. We carry all this hurt, so what do we do with it? I'd like to share an article written by David Suzuki. He's a Canadian scientist, broadcaster, and environmental activist. He started the David Suzuki Foundation in 1990. The foundation works to find ways in society to live in balance with the natural world that does sustain us. His article is titled, "The COVID Pandemic May Be an Opportunity to Transform the Way We Live." There are 2 sections. The first is entitled, "The Lessons of Pandemics." I'm sure in today's COVID-19 lockdown, despite all of the technologies we have to occupy us, computers, televisions, cell phones, many of us are feeling profound isolation, loneliness, and boredom. But this big slowdown gives me time every day to play with my grandchildren who are isolated with me, to read and to think about what has mattered most in my life, what has given me the greatest joy and satisfaction, and where I hope the world might go after I'm gone. I remember when the HIV/AIDS crisis first happened. It was terrifying because the disease was so deadly and we didn't know what was causing it or how it was transmitted. We did a film on it in the early years for The Nature of Things and traveled to Boston to interview a man dying of AIDS and his partner. I'm embarrassed to say that I was scared out of my mind doing that interview because we knew so little about it then. In the time scale of scientific research, astonishingly rapid insights were gained into the cause and mode of transmission of this disease. But it did take years, and AIDS was a devastating tragedy for the individuals and communities involved. We learned that HIV was transmitted through blood and semen. So while still lethal and at the time without a treatment, it was preventable by changing behavior, safe sex, and clean needles. Unfortunately, this change proved to be a difficult obstacle, and it remains the most difficult challenge, changing behavior, with environmental issues. Learning to see our place in the world differently so we can make changes in our destructive behaviors. Difficult as it is now, this pandemic will subside and we will learn some profound lessons from the experience. It may provide a chance to reset priorities and direction for ourselves and society. It is a universal challenge for all human beings. As British Columbia's Indigenous people say, we're all in the same canoe and we have to paddle together if we want to reach our goal. The second section is titled, Finding Hope in Moments of Crisis. My parents were married in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Those were hard times. But Mom and Dad would say that what got them through was hard work, family, and community. And they told me repeatedly, you have to work hard for the necessities in life, but you don't run after money as if having a new car, a big house, or fancy clothes makes you a better or more important person. That has guided me all my life, and I have drummed it into each of my children, that money is not the goal of our existence. Rather, the goal is a life well lived. If we could take a different path from our current one, in which more, bigger, and newer seem to drive our purchases, wherein the idea of consumption for the sake of the economy and the impossible dream that endless growth is both possible and necessary for progress, we might move toward a very different future. In this moment of crisis, we should be asking what an economy is for, whether there are limits, how much is enough, whether we are happier with all this stuff. Can we relearn what humanity has known since our very beginnings, that we live in a complex web of relationships in which our very survival and well-being depend upon clean air, water and soil, sunlight, photosynthesis, and the diversity of species of plants and animals that we share this planet with. Can we establish a far more modest agenda for ourselves, filled with reverence for the rest of creation? Or will we celebrate the passing of the pandemic with an orgy of consumption and a drive to get back to the way things were before the crisis? For me, one of the most dramatic effects of humanity's COVID-19 induced slowdown has been nature's rapid response. Clean air over China, fish in the canals of Venice, and the sighting of a raptor in my backyard. In this disaster lies an opportunity to reflect and change direction in the hope that if we do, nature will be far more generous than we deserve. So now I'd ask you to take the two lists you made. Mine includes family, pets, the sky, clouds, and let the thoughts of all the things you love flow over your fears. Hold on to all the things you love and hope for a better future. Now is the time in our service when we set an intention. Each week, we have been thinking of one word to set our intention for the coming week. Please think of the word that best describes your hopes for yourself in the week ahead, and if you are willing, put it in the chat box. I will share those intention words so all can hear them. My word for the week is hope. Jerry Butler's word is kindness. Bonner's is trust. Joey, stability. Arla Stewart, care. Marcia Christian, awareness. Celine Patterson, rededication. From Ed Luby, improve. From Ellen Newberg, calm. From Kathy, peace. From Kimberly Stewart, from Nathaniel, determination. From Nikki, patience. From Edward, tolerance. From Marilyn, perseverance. From Jill, empathy. From Maya, knitting. From Mac, togetherness. From Aaron and Francis, curiosity and patience from Francis. From Kimberly Stewart, reflection. From Jessica Dimmick and Amelia, freedom. From Alan, focus. From Terry Looney and Bill, compassion. From Tara Lynn, grounding. And from Jessica Dimmick, sing. And from Jack Peterson, resilience. Karen Leader Scott, resilience. From Ellie, gratitude. Thank you everyone for sharing. And now we will extinguish the chalice. Excuse me. Now, please join Elena Hemingway and Mike Menifee in singing our closing hymn, Keepers of the Earth. You may see some people you know in this video.
Every river
And now we will extinguish our chalice. Our worship time together is concluded, but may our spirit of love and care for each other, of our community, and especially of our world and this earth be always present in our hearts and minds and guide our actions always. Now, if you would like, please get yourself some refreshment and join us for our coffee hour on the Zoom link that appears next on your screen. You will need to use the password to enter the Zoom coffee hour meeting. And I found that it helped if I typed it in rather than pasting and copying. If you would like to join by phone, please write this number down: 1-669-900-9128, and the password 749973. Blessings to all.
Beth, can we talk?
There's Lena.
What was that?
I think we may still be broadcasting. So I don't know. Stop recording.